We listened.
Supporting the economy.
Teachers are not trusted enough. I feel like a little girl waiting for someone to come and check up on me.
Difficult to move forward when we're in denial.
Having students in class who can question, show doubt, is beautiful.
We do not have the luxury to give up.
We still have a one-size-fits-all mentality.
The system has deactivated the mind.
The element of teamwork keeps me grounded.
Empower teachers to improve learning.
Pupils' voice.
At least we should be having happy children.
We had sent an invitation to all educators at all levels. And I must say that we had quite a good response. We set up consultation meetings, a number of focus groups at IfE and online. We had people organized as mediators and rapporteurs, and we set questions to provoke a discussion.
So the questions started off with their own personal experience, asking them what they're passionate about, what makes them passionate about being an educator, why did they decide at the end of the day to become an educator. But then we also went into the challenges and enabling factors and also the obstacles that they experience. We then also went through the policies, practice as vision, asking whose voice, whose vision, and then obviously the future. So we also discussed with them which factors influence where education is going in the future and what they think needs to be urgently changed within the education system.
What this is not. It is not people looking at the rearview mirror and seeing what happened or is happening and stopping there. We do look at the rearview mirror with a view to looking forward. What it is not, what we're presenting is not a quantitative report, but it's a number of ideas which we want to use to latch onto. What it is not, AI heavy. For two simple reasons. Probably because there are a number of things we need to put our house in order with. And secondly, because the consultation, the focus groups we had and we held, were held actually before AI and ChatGPT was introduced to the general public. So in a sense, this gave us the possibility to keep thinking not just of AI, but of other things that we need to put in place first.
Okay, so we used MaxQDA to analyze the data that we received throughout the consultation meetings. And 5 key themes emerged, and then obviously there are sub-themes. So the first theme that emerged obviously is the system. And it was good because we had feedback related to both primary, secondary, and post-secondary, showing that participants were coming also from those different levels. There weren't only educators, we had the head of departments, education officers, members of SLT. So there's a wide range, the feedback is coming from a wide range of professionals.
Policy feedback featured very prominently. You can see areas like evaluation, priorities, key actors, consultation, reform fatigue, resources. In terms of priorities, the bottom line was also the issue of decentralization and autonomy that was very, very stressed by a number of participants, etc.
A changing society. The COVID pandemic, without doubt, was a learning experience for many educators, so that featured technology, having multicultural communities in our schools, the geographical aspect, as well, and how it is being integrated in our planning processes, and how teachers are perceived in general.
Leadership and climate. Trust and respect. Motivation, well-being, career, expectations, parental involvement, legal quagmires that leaders get into at times.
And finally, teaching and learning. So with regards to teaching, the most salient elements that emerged were inclusion, student-centered learning, and co-education. And with regards to learning, as you can see, time constraints, quality and standards, technology again emerged here, training, assessment, which was spoken a lot about as well, skills and competencies, again, a very strong point, and subject areas.
We listened.
As if we're catering for the Chamber of Commerce.
The gap between the top and the bottom.
My faith can never be in the people on the top, but those on the bottom.
I'm representing those in power.
The salary continues to be the main problem.
How many of these people in power have their children in state schools themselves?
The why needs to be evaluated too.
Co-education is also a problem. It is creating struggles for teachers. However, segregation is not an option.
Not enough foresight for changes in demographics.
There is a lot of promotion within the film industry.
There is a feeling of having some sort of capital if your child attends a church school, when this should be felt from families who attend a state school too.
Looking at the system, primary, secondary, and post-secondary, one of the main areas which was a focus was the issue of colleges. The other issue was curriculum, not just for the secondary, but also for the primary and post-secondary. And I think an overarching issue within curriculum was the fact that it is too content-based. And that is bringing about a lot of repetition and a lot of fragmentation. And fragmentation itself is causing the status of sub-subjects to suffer when compared to others, and the possibility of cross-curricular approaches is being denied. The fact that the curriculum is too content-based is also leading to a lack of skills, which is having repercussions in post-secondary as well. As I said, colleges featured very prominently in this discussion. Co-education. So people felt that it is the way forward, but we need to be very clear that all children are getting their due, be they male or female. Colleges might be leading to competition between colleges themselves. And perhaps this goes beyond what was envisaged when colleges started off way back. Colleges might have increased levels of bureaucracy, which might be having a detrimental effect as well. The fact that some colleges have large schools, and this was an aspect which was emphasized by a lot of people. We listened.
Reassess our understanding of success.
A bottom-up approach is required. Policies are developed top-down.
There is a detachment from reality.
Logistically, a space for discussion and conversation is impossible to work out. Curriculum time is not serving this purpose.
A reflection is required on how many subjects we have.
New management, new policy. I hope the student is always the focal point.
There is more focus on paperwork.
Small communities, bigger schools.
The first thing I would do is remove SEC exams. Then I would be able to teach.
The NCF is beautifully written.
consultation between subject areas did not happen and subjects didn't become less prescriptive.
Logistics are always a problem or an excuse. Some general points on policy that came out. The need for a bottom-up approach featured very, very, very prominently. Too many roles, too little improvement. Just provide general direction. People felt that that should be the way forward. Provide general direction and leave schools to implement depending on their own contexts. The lack of stability and security transfers, people moving around every year. Kinder considered as an afterthought. Research before embarking on something new. Reference to PISA, TIMSS, PIRLS. Do we ask why? Is there other research which might be perhaps more pertinent? Chamber of Commerce and the effect of the Chamber and other entities on policy? Is that too big? Another aspect of policy which was dealt with was the lack of teachers. First and foremost, there seems to be a lack of foresight in terms of demographics. The population explosion seems to have taken us all by surprise. The Scholars' IfE effect, having youngsters being invited to provide service in Scholars' IfE, they might harbor aspirations to venture into education, but being not prepared to cater for kids they're assigned to might probably put them off for life. The issue of pay is the big elephant in the room. The fact that as a result of as a result of the lack of teachers, we need to engage supply teachers, and this is having an effect, a double effect, on lowering down of standards and also an effect, a deleterious effect on status. Having a lack of teachers means that teachers are being stretched, and this in itself is lowering down standards. Perhaps one solution could be engaging foreign teachers, and this would have a direct effect on the status itself and on standards. Teachers being stretched. Some people commented that they feel guilty to take time off or sick leave. That sometimes they're being asked to do things at short notice. Teacher assistants might be helping teachers in class perhaps to make their work a little bit more bearable. Is inclusion being left too much in the hands of LSCs because we're too busy doing other things? The risk of burnout came up quite prominently. The effects of the pandemic were mentioned, as was the result of transfers and redeployments that happened year after year. And many people felt that the mitigation measures we should adopt should be help within schools themselves. So things like pastoral care teams within the school, psychosocial support, and guidance within the primary to help primary teachers cope with their caseload. The issue of status as part of policy. Low salaries and difficulties in progression, together with reform fatigue, are considered to be key. Obviously, all this is having an effect in terms of industrial relations. So we're having directives like no class visits by EOs, no taking of LOs, which in themselves are having an effect on standards. Obviously, reform fatigue itself and low salaries themselves have a direct impact on standards. Status is affected by the fact that the warrant, the granting of a warrant, is independent of professional development of teachers. or of educators. We are the only professional with supply staff. We listened.
Reassess our understanding of success.
We need citizens who are critical thinkers.
They came to Malta and their previous learning is completely kept aside.
I find it difficult to project our future in education.
Education must be provided on a deep sense of social justice.
Social mobility in Malta is one of the least in Europe.
Curriculum needs to reflect diversity.
We feel that we are competing with social media and technology.
Too much focus on individuality.
We need to create discussion that enthuses cultural change.
Standard of living does not only refer to the amount of money one has, but also on the quality of skills one acquires.
A need for change in teacher mindset.
The human being is evolving, but our education system is not. So with regards to a changing society, let me start with the premise that all the educators we had, from all the consultation meetings, we could feel they were intrinsically passionate about their vocation in education. So they do feel that they are there for a reason. Most of them said that when they found themselves working in collaborative working environments, they felt that they could thrive, especially when supporting actors would be involved, such as parents, experts, or professionals from external entities. However, they still do feel that their main role is preparing learners for the workforce, rather than being responsive to development and change and focusing on a holistic development in which focus and priority is given to the acquisition of skills and competencies. And they show that they see that there's a lack of foresight, especially with regards to changes in demographics, and they can feel the effect of that in their teaching and learning. They also stated that they are affected by a sense of omerta in some catchment areas. With regards to psychosocial support, we had varied responses. We had some who could say they could rely on the psychosocial support that they have within their school, but others said that they feel that there's some sort of lack of human resources because they found themselves many times struggling to contain situations and face situations at school affecting the daily running of the school and the teaching and learning in class. So this also shows that there needs to be a more sense of equity around our schools in Malta and the support which is given. They strongly feel that we need to give a voice to diversity, a true sense to the meaning of inclusion. What is inclusion? Yes, in Malta, obviously, inclusion, we give it more priority to disability issues. When we think of inclusion, for us, mainly it's that, which is very important for obvious reasons. However, when we refer to our inclusion policy, there are a number of factors, like ethnicity, multicultural aspects, gender. So this is all also inclusion. However, our system relates more to inclusion for one specific reason. With regards to technology, some said that it may be seen as an obstacle, but our mindset needs to be one where we see technology as an opportunity. And in this regard, they referred also to the COVID pandemic, which even though it struck them by surprise, but it was a learning experience for them with regards to the use and implementation of technology.
We listened.
Parents become disengaged as children grow.
Schools are a safe place.
I found a community of educators by coincidence.
It was very difficult when our previous head of school left
There is a problem with ownership.
I have sometimes needed to send teachers home to rest due to burnout.
Literacy assessments used to compare results between schools.
Schools need to decide themselves. Autonomy with accountability.
A sense of identity.
Are we depending on home support?
Territorial thinking.
The gaming industry invests in their employees' well-being.
Transfers between schools disrupt belonging.
The main thrust on leadership was trust and responsibility. This was commented upon negatively, yet again, the fact that with SMTs, there is a kind of musical chairs going around. The need for quality assurance. Decisions need to be taken closer to schools. Industrial issues that need to be revisited to make sure that there is industrial peace at the workplace. Leaders need training in legal issues. The need for critical engagement to have schools which are more democratic and more socially just. The need to reverse a silo mentality where different departments seem not to be communicating enough with each other. Leadership has a direct influence on climate. Leadership and parents, and the dialectic that needs to exist between the two. And please, reduce paperwork to have leaders doing what they need to do. If we had to focus on climate particularly, again the issues of trust comes to the fore. Trust and empowerment. Trust through a sense of autonomy, particularly within state schools, which would lead to a stronger ethos, which is considered to be key. This is probably only possible with smaller communities in schools and the stability of staff within schools. And the stronger ethos should be based on the concept of democracy and social justice. The issue of critical engagement was also referred to, particularly the need for time to critically engage, to decide on CPD, to have time to learn from one another, and this will have a good effect on creating stronger ethos in schools. What people meant by critical engagement, things like addressing reliance on the home, validation of children's culture, addressing socioeconomic gaps, educating in context. People also associated climate with well-being. The issue of teacher assistance, we've mentioned that already. Some people mentioned the fact that teachers might be taking up breakfast club to make ends meet, starting off the day already tired. The shortage of teachers. The role of teachers perhaps is not well defined. Student motivation. The focus on content, which I've mentioned already. This was interesting as well. The feedback we give seems to have no impact. And possibly, we don't have enough consultation. And both these points seem to point to a certain lack of respect in our regard. But people felt motivated. There is creativity, there is joy in being in class, there is passion, there is conversation going on. There is also political motivation with a capital P, bringing socioeconomic conditions to the fore. Make happy children, making informed choices, activism, social justice. Relationship with parents and leadership. Possibly some teachers might be being de-skilled in their relationship with parents. We need to get parents on board even more. Possibly parents might think in the way they themselves have been brought up, particularly in issues like assessment or emphasis on main subjects, and that is something we need to engage with parents with. The directives themselves of not taking allows is barring educators from communicating further with parents. Some parents do not know what is happening in class. The fact that some children sit in class or at school for 11 hours every day puts on educators a lot of responsibility. We listened.
Teachers cannot settle down.
A lot of fragmentation in secondary level between subjects.
Just having the idea of choice does not mean it's a good choice.
The teacher's role is not defined.
I love cross-curricular teaching.
Less content, more skills.
We are partly to blame because we accept everything.
Lesson time is too short.
I don't see myself as extinct.
State school educators don't feel respected.
Teaching, not my first choice.
Repetition of content is a very big problem at post-secondary level.
There's a feeling that as an educator, if I do my job diligently and effectively, or I do not care or go for traditional teaching, I'm still going to get the same pay.
Various jobs, but none give satisfaction like teaching.
I would be told to make do. So with regards to teaching and learning, most educators spoke of their struggle to motivate disengaged and disenchanted students in class. And we discussed, where do you think this is coming from? Why? And they spoke a lot about their lack of opportunity to incorporate a student-centered approach in all levels of education. This came out most especially in secondary and post-secondary levels, where they feel that there are vast syllabi which students need to cover in the learner's pursuit to acquire their METSEC qualifications. So they feel like they're always in a run. There's this exam-oriented goal that they have, which does not give them the opportunity for student-centered learning. They do feel that in general the teacher's mindset needs to develop. They did say, yes, we admit that our teacher mindset needs to develop towards that of a growth mindset, in which we have more opportunity to integrate the acquisition of 21st century skills, lifelong learning skills and competencies, discussions with students related to current issues, which induces critical thinking. And also, many spoke of fostering a cross-curricular approach, which they would really like, but we had people, especially from the secondary, saying that in our schools, big schools, it's practically impossible that I can meet up with other teachers to coordinate a cross-curricular approach. So, they need more time. They were saying that we need more time. We need more time for the allocation for professional learning communities, so they can collaborate, and besides that, be involved and, in general, have the curriculum and syllabi revised so this integration can be possible. The focus they do, as we're saying, still feel that it's based on the academic, with the final destination of learners being exams, which they need to sit for. With regards to assessment, again, they feel that it is still exam-oriented, and many stated that they doubt how much formative assessment is being done as it is intended, and if not some sort of summative assessment is being used to present the formative assessment. The multicultural aspect emerged, where they were all saying, like, listen, we care for all our learners as if they are our own, but the education system, the curriculum, they feel it is not designed to cater for a culturally diverse community. It is not responsive to multicultural communities we have in schools. Another factor related to this is adapting to regular changes. They feel that this affects their teaching and learning very much. They feel that this is a struggle that they have to face. And we had one particular who said, listen, we need to stop. We need to stop. We need to stop and reflect, not continue to invent new elements in our education system, but stop and then reflect before new implementation is occurred. Above all, in relation to this, they spoke of students' voice. And they reiterated many times that whatever we do needs to reflect the student's voice.
We listened.
Sowing a seed.
Teacher agency.
Formative assessment and summative assessment. Formative assessment or summative assessment. Formative assessment versus summative assessment.
We need to stop.
Cinderella subjects.
Everyone seems to be able to take over a class. Undergraduates with children. Putting out a flame.
Less content, more skills.
The student is not a product.
Career choice at the age of 12.
Education should push boundaries.
Give learners freedom, creativity, and autonomy.
Students remember how their educator made them feel.
I'm a teacher, even if people look down on teachers.
Success is resilience.
Whose voices are being left out?
Schools should be built not by walls, but spaces.
We are hopeful, and we keep on dreaming.
Freedom, spaces, voices.
Hey, Janice and Mario, could you give me 1 minute here?
Okay.
I am Francesca, and as you have probably realized, I have a close connection with AI, as it is essential to include the empowerment of education through AI. Probably when the consultation meetings with educators were held, I wasn't so much of a thing yet, right? Well, let's keep in mind that AI may assist in enhancing educators' impact, elevating student learning, fostering inclusivity, accessibility, and encouraging lifelong learning. AI in education isn't just about technology. It's about creating equitable, personalized, and engaging learning experiences. By integrating AI into our educational systems, we empower both educators and students, fostering a brighter, more inclusive future of learning. Well, there you go. Some food for thought, dear educators and policymakers, and the Institute for Education too. My sources tell me that you are planning your next symposium on AI. Am I right? I'll leave it up to Janice and Mario to give you more information about that, just so I don't completely take over this presentation.
Okay, thank you, Francesca.
You're more than welcome.
So, as you heard from Francesca, who's this Francesca? Francesca is something new, which will also be integrated because we're forward-looking. At the Institute for Education on our website, we will soon be having Francesca, who will be available to anyone who accesses our website for assistance and guidance through a personalized professional development journey for educators or those who wish to venture into a career in education. In the meantime, as you can see, our next symposium.
Correct.
So
Next year.
Our next symposium next year is going to be Minds and Machines Unite. It's going to be a symposium on AI. If you access your QR code at the back, you will see the call for papers, which is open. So if either you are interested or you know someone who's interested to participate in this symposium, let's get it started.